Hey, today we are going to talk about a bit of factoring, but also how we can use factoring to solve uh, or simplify expressions that contain polynomials. So here, if you look at the first one, we have a polynomial, x squared minus x minus 12, and we're being asked to divide it by this binomial. And so this would be really difficult the way that we're looking at it, but if we factor the top part, if we factor this polynomial, we can do some canceling to simplify. And so I'm going to rewrite this with the polynomial on top of the binomial, and I'll stay using my parentheses. And so we want to factor this, which we've been doing. So you can factor whichever method you want. You can factor using the calculator, or you can factor using the old school method. If you have questions on factoring, please do refer to the factoring lessons or ask me for help. But if you factor the top of this fraction, you get x plus 3 and you get x minus 4. And on the bottom, we have our x plus 3 still. These two factors are being multiplied. Anytime we have a fraction where we have things being multiplied, we can cancel like terms on the top and the bottom. So for example, if we have something like 3 times 4 divided by 4, we would be able to cancel those 4s, and this would simplify to be 3. And you could test that out by doing 3 times 4, which is 12, and dividing 12 by 4, and you would get 3. And so since we have an x plus 3 on the top and the bottom of this fraction, and we have multiplication up here, we're allowed to cancel those x plus 3s, and we are left with x minus 4. And that's simplifying this expression. So I would always encourage you to rewrite this as a fraction. It helps us see when we can cancel once we factor. So we want to factor this. Again, you can use whichever method you like. You can use the calculator. You can use the old school method I taught. If you are struggling factoring this, do make sure that you have watched and done those lessons. And if you need my help, I'm glad to help you. But when we factor this polynomial on top, we get 8x minus 5 times x minus 3. And on the bottom, we have x minus 3. That's what we're dividing by. And so we can cancel that x minus 3 on the top and the bottom. Those are gone now. We're left with 8x minus 5, and that is as simple as it gets. So it is important, as I've said a couple times now, that you are able to factor, because factoring is going to make this thing go. So again, if you need help with the factoring portion, please make sure you've watched the factoring lessons. And then if you have and you're still struggling a bit, make sure that you ask me to help you. When we factor the top of this fraction, we get n plus 4, and we get 8n minus 9. And on the bottom, we have that n plus 4 because that's what we're being asked to divide by. And what's really nice with these types of problems, we're not trying to trick you. I'm not trying to trick you. If the factors in our numerator don't match, if none of our factors match the denominator, then you've probably made a mistake factoring, and you might want to go back and refactor it, or, as I always say, ask me for help to see if we can find the mistake. Because what we're looking to do is cancel something in the top and the bottom, like that n plus 4, and we write down what we have left over, and that is our answer. So as I've said several times now, it is important that if you are struggling with factoring still, you ask for help, because the factoring is what makes this problem be able to be completed. I'm going to go ahead and skip that one here. I have a couple for you to try. So if you've struggled a little bit before we get to this point, do make sure you ask for help before you do these problems on your own. And if you're ready, go ahead and try these two, and then come back for your answer. So hopefully you got x plus 6 and n plus 8. If you forgot when you changed this to an x when you were factoring and you wrote x plus 8, that's fine. No big deal. If you didn't get x plus 6 or n plus 8 and you don't know where you went wrong, please do raise your hand and ask for help so we can try and find the mistake before you move on to the practice. And of course, we do have some practice problems here that we want you to simplify. If you've struggled up to this point, it's a good idea to ask some questions before you move on. And then once you're ready, please move on and do these problems. As always, ask for help when you need it if you get stuck on any of these problems. Take your time on these, and good luck.